NASA isn't just planning another trip to the moon, they're preparing to build something no one has ever seen before, a permanent city on another world. But here's the twist. This isn't science fiction. Real plans, real blueprints, and even rival nations are already racing to make it happen. The only problem? The moon is one of the harshest, deadliest places humans have ever stepped foot. So how do you turn that alien wasteland into a place where people can actually live, work, and maybe even thrive? The answers are shocking, and what NASA is planning will change the future of space forever. When NASA returns to the moon, they're not going back to the safe landing spots of the Apollo era. Instead, their eyes are fixed on the lunar South Pole, an area so extreme and uncharted that no human has ever set foot there. This isn't just a random choice. Buried in those endless shadows, deep inside craters that haven't seen sunlight for billions of years, lies something that could make or break humanity's future in space: frozen water. Scientists believe these ancient ice deposits delivered by comets and asteroids could be the key to survival. Melt it down and you have drinking water. Split it apart and you get oxygen for breathing and hydrogen for rocket fuel. In other words, whoever controls the ice at the South Pole controls the future of lunar exploration. But this region is as dangerous as it is valuable. It's a place of jagged cliffs, frozen valleys, and craters so deep the sun never touches them. NASA has already mapped out 13 potential landing zones, carefully chosen patches of sunlight perched on crater rims. These tiny islands of light could be the lifelines that keep astronauts alive, surrounded by an ocean of darkness. It's an environment that's both a treasure chest and a death trap, and it sets the stage for the first true human settlement beyond Earth. Before anyone can dream of building homes or cities on the moon, there's a silent enemy waiting to destroy it all: dust. It sounds harmless, but lunar dust is nothing like what we know on Earth. Every grain is razor sharp, like shards of broken glass, and once it gets loose, it doesn't just settle back down. With no atmosphere and only a fraction of Earth's gravity, dust can float and travel for miles, coating everything in its path. The Apollo astronauts learned this the hard way. Their suits were shredded, their visors scratched, and even their rover started overheating because its radiator was clogged with dust. When Apollo 12 landed, its rocket exhaust blasted so much debris into the air that a nearby probe, sitting 180 meters away, was sandblasted like it had been hit by a storm. Imagine what happens when dozens of spacecraft start landing and lifting off around a moon base. If dust isn't controlled, it could wreck vehicles, contaminate habitats, and even put astronaut health at risk. So how do we fight it? One quick fix is something soldiers nicknamed rhino snot, a spray-on material once used in Afghanistan to harden dirt roads and stop helicopters from kicking up sandstorms. But hauling barrels of that stuff from Earth to the moon would be costly and polluting. The smarter, long-term solution? Use the moon itself. Scientists are experimenting with melting lunar soil into solid glass, paving landing pads and roads right where astronauts need them. It's slow, it's challenging, but without it, a moon city would crumble before it even begins. And yet, solving dust is just step one. Because once astronauts can move safely across the surface, another challenge looms. How do you actually travel, explore, and connect a city on a world where every step outside is a life or death risk? On Earth, we take travel for granted. Cars, highways, trains, every city is stitched together by roads. But on the moon, every step outside is a gamble with survival. That's why NASA and its partners are building something futuristic. Pressurized rovers, essentially space-ready RVs, that let astronauts explore without ever putting on a spacesuit. The most ambitious of these is the Lunar Cruiser, a project led by Japan's space agency in partnership with Toyota. Picture an off-road vehicle the size of a bus but sealed like a spaceship, capable of sustaining 2 astronauts for up to 30 days at a time. It's not just a car. It's a mobile home designed for one of the harshest environments in the solar system. Inside, astronauts will be able to eat, sleep, run experiments, and even drive across cratered landscapes for hundreds of miles. Instead of hopping in and out of suits, they'll move directly from their habitat into the rover, and from the rover into another building, creating a network of safe zones on the moon. It's a lifestyle that looks more like futuristic commuting than dangerous spacewalking. And here's where things get interesting. These rovers won't just be tools of exploration, they'll be lifelines. Whoever has the best fleet of lunar vehicles may control how far, how fast, and how safely. Settlements expand. Rumors already swirl about potential races between nations, not just to plant flags, but to dominate mobility on the lunar surface. Imagine one country controlling the only vehicles capable of reaching certain ice-rich craters. On the moon, mobility won't just mean freedom, it could mean power. But even if astronauts can move around, they still need somewhere to live. And the first homes NASA is designing might surprise you. They look less like skyscrapers and more like inflatable camping gear. Before we talk about futuristic cities, we need to start small, because the very first homes on the moon won't look like science fiction skyscrapers. They'll look more like survival pods. NASA already has a design for this first lunar house, the Foundation Surface Habitat. Think of it as a 3-story hybrid between metal and inflatable fabric, built to keep 4 astronauts alive for up to a month at a time. On the ground floor, there's the airlock, the suits, and a compact science lab where astronauts will analyze lunar rocks and soil. Above that, an inflatable section expands outward, creating space for exercise gear, hygiene systems, and a small biology lab, where they'll test whether plants and even small animals can handle the harsh lunar environment. And on the top level, that's the living quarters. Beds, a kitchen, a workstation, and even a medical bay. Every square inch has a purpose, every corner designed for survival. But here's the catch. These habitats won't be permanent. They're more like test camps, places to study how humans adapt to long stays in low gravity, constant radiation and isolation. Astronauts will rotate in and out, switching between living in the habitat and exploring with their rovers. It's a beginning. But if we're going to build a real city, one that lasts for decades, these inflatable pods won't cut it. For that, we'll need something tougher, something built not just on the moon, but from the moon. And that's where things get bold. Because the next phase of lunar living isn't about bringing materials from Earth. It's about melting, printing, and building entire homes out of moon dust itself. Inflatable habitats may work for the first missions, but nobody wants to live in a balloon forever. To survive for decades, lunar settlers will need something sturdier. Structures built to withstand radiation, extreme temperatures, and even micrometeorite strikes. The answer? Use the moon itself as the building material. Scientists have already proven that lunar soil, when heated, can be baked into bricks strong enough to build with. China is testing this idea right now with an experimental concept called the moon pot vessel, an egg-shaped structure designed to be built by robots brick by brick, using nothing but lunar dust and 3D printing. They've even sent experimental bricks to their Tiangong space station, exposing them to years of cosmic rays and vacuum to see how they hold up. If they work, China could be the first nation to literally turn moon dust into permanent housing. The U.S. and its partners are taking another approach class. By melting lunar soil into molten sheets, engineers believe we could blow enormous hollow spheres, giant bubbles of glass that form protective shells for habitats. With no atmosphere and lower gravity, these glass domes could grow to sizes that seem impossible on Earth. Layered with multiple panes and air gaps, they could insulate against deadly temperature swings while protecting settlers from radiation. It sounds like science fiction, but NASA has already funneled funding into companies exploring this idea. These projects raise a bigger question. Who gets there first? Whoever perfects lunar construction won't just build a home. They'll claim dominance over the first extraterrestrial city. Rumors already swirl about a new space race, with China and the U.S. testing rival technologies behind the scenes. If one nation can lock down construction methods, they won't just be making buildings, they'll be shaping the future of humanity's presence in space. But even if we can build homes and cities, there's still one enormous problem: power. A city is useless if the lights go out, and on the moon, darkness can last for 2 weeks straight. You can build the strongest homes, the toughest rovers, and the most advanced labs, but without power, a lunar city is just a ghost town waiting to happen. And on the moon, power isn't as simple as plugging into the sun, because while solar energy works great here on Earth, the moon has a brutal cycle: 2 weeks of daylight, followed by 2 weeks of total darkness. That's 14 days where solar panels produce nothing and temperatures plunge to deadly lows. During the Apollo missions, this wasn't an issue. Astronauts were only there for a few days. But if you're running a permanent settlement, losing power for 2 weeks isn't just inconvenient, it's a death sentence. So what's the solution? Nuclear energy. Not giant power plants like on Earth, but miniature reactors designed specifically for space. NASA calls their project fission surface power. The goal is simple: pack an entire nuclear reactor into something the size of a car, small enough to land on the moon, but powerful enough to run an entire habitat. Rolls-Royce, a company better known for luxury cars, is one of the surprising leaders in this technology. Drawing from decades of experience building compact nuclear systems for submarines, their micro-reactor designs aim to generate between 50 and 100 kilowatts of electricity, more than enough to keep a small base alive and running. The plan is to place these reactors in permanently shadowed craters where the sun never rises, so they stay cool and protected. Stack a few of them together, and suddenly you're not just surviving. You're powering rovers, laboratories, communication systems, even manufacturing plants. It's the backbone of a true city on another world. But here's where the stakes rise. If nuclear power doesn't work, lunar settlements may collapse before they even begin. And in the background, both the US and China are pushing hard to claim energy dominance on the moon. Because whoever controls power doesn't just control survival, they control expansion. And expansion is the entire point. Because the moon isn't just a destination, it's the launch pad to something even bigger. Building a city on the moon isn't just about planting another flag or proving we can survive in space. It's about creating a gateway, a launch pad for everything that comes next. The moon sits only 3 days away from Earth, but in terms of opportunity, it could be the stepping stone to the entire solar system. Its frozen craters may hold enough water to make rocket fuel, its surface strong enough to host massive launch pads. Imagine fueling up on the moon and then blasting off to Mars or the outer planets without ever needing to haul supplies from Earth. Suddenly, deep space exploration becomes cheaper, faster, and more realistic than ever before. But here's where the story sharpens. This isn't just a dream of exploration, it's a race. While NASA is pushing ahead with Artemis, China is accelerating its own lunar program with plans to build a base at the South Pole in the coming decade. Other nations and even private companies are watching closely because whoever controls the moon won't just control science. They'll control resources, technology, and the first real settlement beyond Earth. Some even speculate it could become the new frontier for geopolitical power, a high-stakes contest where space is the prize. So the moon is more than a destination. It's a test. Can humanity come together to build a future off-world, or will our old rivalries follow us into the stars? Either way, what happens on the lunar surface over the next 10, 20, 50 years could decide the future of our entire species. The dream of building a city on the moon isn't just science fiction anymore. Step by step, it's becoming real. Through habitats that look like inflatable camps, roads paved from molten dust, and power plants no bigger than a car that could light up entire colonies, each breakthrough brings us closer to something humanity has never done before, creating a permanent home on another world. But there's a deeper question beneath the technology. Who will get there first? NASA and its partners, China with its bold experiments, or maybe even private companies that no one expects? Whoever builds the first true lunar city won't just be making history. They'll be shaping the future of space for generations to come. If humanity can survive and thrive on the moon, then Mars, the asteroid belt, and even the outer planets are suddenly within reach. A new era of exploration begins. But if we fail, the moon could become a graveyard of unfinished dreams. a reminder that our reach once again fell short of our grasp. So the real question is this: when the first city rises on the moon, will it be a symbol of human unity or the first colony in a new space race? One thing's certain: once we take that step, there's no turning back.